Okay, so after this election, it's been really interesting watching all the Democrats perform their post-mortem examination about their horrifyingly bad grassroots efforts to attempt to sway the American public into thinking that Kamala Harris was, in fact, their top pick. Top pick. They could have picked anybody, but they thrusted Kamala Harris into the limelight to assume the position of maybe having the most important position, job on planet Earth. Kamala Harris, of everyone they could have chosen, they thought that America is still stuck with the idea that identity politics is the number one most important, reign supreme concern of the American people in terms of who they are looking for and what qualities they are looking for as a leader of the free world. So I thought that was really quite interesting watching MSNBC, CNN, The View just break down and trying to come to grips with reality because it's a clean sweep. Trump won the presidency. He's winning the Senate. Republicans are winning the Senate. They're taking the House, and he will be taking the popular vote. That is a massacre, a full-blown massacre. Now, what's also interesting is I don't think these Democrats fully understand what's coming their way because they aren't even giving Elon Musk enough credit, or not yet at least, in terms of what he is going to do to help the American people and what aid he will provide the Trump administration. Because as he stated, and I think, Donald Trump agreed, he is willing to put him in a new committee, DOGE, DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, which means, much like what he did at Twitter, he's going to clean house. Yeah, he's going to be bringing the sink to DC, and he's going to be removing all of what is inefficient that has been taking the American people's money for no just cause. No more $20,000 luncheons. Yeah, they're taking our money and they're spending, I think last time I checked, they were spending like $23 per cup of coffee for all these meetings that they have. So I can't wait for the government, for Elon Musk to take care of business with the Department of Government Efficiency. Now, some wondered if, for Christ's sake, instead of no balls walls, tampon Tim, they could have gone with a guy like Josh Shapiro. And it's clear he would have been a less polarizing force for the Kamala Harris campaign, which would have totally helped Kamala Harris. But I think the only reason why Kamala Harris would not have chosen Shapiro is because he's actually a smart guy, and Kamala Harris clearly has confidence issues, and she won't want Shapiro to take the spotlight because it'll be a clear contrast between an intellect and someone who's not so bright. Because Kamala Harris, we all know, isn't so bright. Incidentally, one of her best moments was with her debate with Trump, where, I'm going to say this, okay? Her best quality during the Trump debate was not being Kamala. Kamala's best quality is to not be herself, because when she shows herself, it shows the American people this is clearly not a person poised to sit in the position where she's going to lead the American people. There is no way that's going to happen. And again, that's shown in the clear popular vote when her campaign, they're going to have to go back to the Democratic Party is going to have to go back to the drawing board because they clearly have no idea what the American people really need. You think they really wanted Megan Thee Stallion twerking and all these celebrities who have no idea what it's like to live a regular, you know, American struggling family middle class lifestyle? None of these fake Hollywood music, television superstars are going to identify with the American people, much less a bunch of this degenerate rapping at her rallies. I'm not against rap, okay? Sure, if you like rap, you like rap. But having that at a rally when you're trying to convince the American people that whatever you were experiencing in the last 4 years, I will fix it. Cut to shaking booty and more degenerate rapping about you get it, right? Okay. Now it is what it is. They are just going to have to live with these results. They're going to have to go back to the drawing board, and the Democratic Party has to severely reinvent their approach because clearly the American people aren't buying this. There weren't enough major events afterwards to keep the momentum going with whatever Harris's Vibes campaign started out with, and Trump's team smartly refused a second debate, which really left Harris far less chances to connect with the American people. Now, her only chances after that were her public appearances, right? Now, if you watch the Joe Rogan podcast with Trump, that podcast reached 24 million, close to 24 million views in 24 hours. Or was it like 25 million? Between 23 to 25 million in the first 24 hours. Harris couldn't get that many views in a month. Nothing. It's like, who did she go on afterwards, right? Like with Shannon Sharp, like Who's Your Daddy, or whatever podcast where she was thrown softball after softball, where she was never basically asked questions, where she was forced to answer, what are you going to do about the state of affairs that Americans are going through now that you can, as president, change and make better? She had nothing. Okay. All she said was Orange Man, bad. That's not going to do. They need to go back to the drawing board. And I hope, for the sake of like competition, right? Because Kamala Harris is no competition to Donald Trump. I hope that they find somebody that is not a DEI hire. Yep, I said that. That might hurt some people's feelings, but we all know Kamala Harris, Joe Biden was staunch on the idea that they had to be a woman of color and a woman. So, and we can trace back some of the missteps that Kamala Harris had during the campaign. And one famous misstep was her trying to explain to the delusional, I don't even want to say the word, but to the panel on The View, when she was asked by Sonny Huston, what would you do better than Joe Biden, or what would you do different than Joe Biden? Go. Where she famously said, nothing. She said she wouldn't do anything different than Joe Biden, which was, I'm pretty sure even Democrats, all their jaws dropped. My jaw dropped, right? But mine for a different reason than a Democrat. My jaw dropped because that was far and beyond like one of the nails of the several in the coffin, because everyone is going through a tough time. You can't go up there and say that you're gonna do something different when you have your opponent saying these are all the litany of things that Donald Trump will be doing to change the trajectory of the degenerate state that America had to endure for the last 4 years. So she couldn't separate herself from Joe Biden at all. So for the West Coast viewers, exit polls revealed that Trump received a significant 45% Latino vote support. And if you've seen any of the news recently, the Joy Reids of the world and the MSNBC, MSDNC, as Trump likes to call it, we're pretty much blaming black men and Latino men because 75% of Latino registered voter males voted for Trump. And it was really quite funny watching MSNBC, CNN break down that Latino men were also tired of this shit. That they aren't the only, that Americans aren't just people who value the nation of America as in nationalism, okay? But they could also be men of color, like me. I'm a minority, and you better believe I'm America First agenda type individual. So there's that. So they lost the Latino vote, and Trump's performance in Iowa. Wow. Do you remember Ann Seltzer and her ridiculous +3 for Iowa? Man, there's so much to go. There's so much to go on with just the corruption, I guess. Like all the left-leaning media trouts that were going on about how Kamala was famously supporting all the disenfranchised group, and they're going to get rid of Nazis and supremacists and people who were going to rip people's rights from beneath them somehow. So apparently now that you're a Democrat, all your rights are going to be gone. Yeah, right. So yeah, the performance in Iowa, that never came true. Clearly it didn't, because Iowa ended up with a +13. Eat that, Ann Seltzer. So, I mean, it was a really interesting turnout of events, because even as much as the swing states were very important to Trump's win, it was the blue states. If you look at, and I'll do this in another video, but if you look at all the blue states, every state that was won by Harris, like all the Democratic blue tallied states like California, Washington, Oregon, New York, and all those other states, they are far more leaned to the right than they were when Joe Biden won back in 2020. Okay, so even states that voted blue, that where they won the electorate in that state, at the end of the vote tallies, at the end of the polling, there were far more people who voted red than before. So the momentum is clearly shifting away from the Democratic Party, which again goes out to speak to the outset of my conversation. The Democrats have to lean into the center, and they have to completely revise their plan on how they're going to convince the American people that they are, runner-up for leaders of this free world. Because right now, that's not what it looks like. America has had it. They're tired of the woke agenda. They're tired of these elite movie stars and, like anti-American agendas who are completely out of touch with the working class Americans. So, yeah, I mean, back to the drawing board they go. Trump gained pretty much ground in every county, even parts like New York, New Jersey, and Illinois. They need to take a deep dive into the numbers, the Democrats, and realize whatever they've done in the last 4 years, whatever they've done since COVID, needs to never happen again if they stand any sort of chance. So yeah. And lastly, I want to end with this because on my next video, I want to talk about the future of America and where the direction that we're headed. Know this. Another demographic group that's beginning to lean towards the Republican Party were young men. That's not the same in 2020. A lot more men voted blue than in 2024. So what's that saying? Men are fed up with this girl boss mentality. I'm not saying that women shouldn't be bosses, but I really don't think the Democrats know how to speak to their base. You should speak for both men and women and not ostracize masculinity. Because masculinity built America. Hate to say that, but it's the truth. We wouldn't have the infrastructure we have now, the protections that we have now, if it wasn't for these masculine men. Okay? Unfortunately, we are in the good times creates weak men era. We are surrounded by a bunch of weak men, but I think it's starting to swing back around and people are noticing that. So that's it for today. I'll hope to catch you on my next video. Please like and subscribe and support these smaller channels and help support these great America First agenda channels like myself so we can keep promoting and preserving the American way of life. See you soon.